was a humid afternoon in January 1996, and in a quiet neighborhood of Varginha, Brazil, 3 young women walked through a vacant lot and froze in fear. Just a few feet away, crouching in the weeds by a wall, was a creature like nothing they had ever seen. Little did they know that this frantic encounter was only the beginning of an event that would plunge an entire city into panic and spark one of history's most infamous UFO mysteries. This is the story of the Varginha incident. Welcome. Step closer. Tonight, we tell a story that contains accounts of alleged extraterrestrial encounters and a puzzling death under mysterious circumstances. But before we proceed, a brief warning. Viewer discretion is advised. This video delves into the Varginha incident, which is often dubbed Brazil's Roswell, where multiple witnesses reported strange creatures and a UFO, only for the truth to be allegedly shrouded by an official cover-up. Now, let's uncover what happened on that fateful day in 1996. Our story begins 1 week before the girls' terrifying encounter. On January 13, 1996, reports emerged that something had fallen from the sky near Varginha. A local farmer and other witnesses claimed a UFO crashed on a nearby farm, leaving behind debris. According to these accounts, the Brazilian army quickly cordoned off the area and collected wreckage from the supposed crash site. In fact, a pilot named Carlos de Souza later came forward to say he had seen a cigar-shaped craft, about the size of a school bus, flying erratically above the countryside that day. The object appeared to be in trouble, losing altitude and spewing white smoke. So Souza followed its trajectory by car. He arrived at a field littered with metallic debris and permeated by a foul odor, like rotten eggs, the evidence that something had smashed into the earth. As he surveyed the wreckage, armed military personnel swarmed the scene, shouted at him to leave, and promptly sealed off the area. Fast forward to the early hours of January 20th, 1996, in the pre-dawn darkness, a local couple reported seeing a strange craft with severe damage to its hull gliding over Varginha. Shortly after this sighting, residents in a near neighborhood began calling authorities about an unusual animal on the loose. One witness described a creature scampering through the streets on all fours, short and hunched, unlike any known animal. The local fire department, which in Brazil often handles animal control, responded to the calls. According to a later report, firefighters, along with some army personnel, cornered a small creature and managed to trap it inside a wooden box, which they then loaded onto a military truck. A construction worker recalled watching this bizarre capture from a distance, a glimpse of something being sealed in a crate and whisked away by officials. At that moment, few could imagine they might have witnessed the capture of an extraterrestrial being. By 1:00 p.m. that day, unusual activity intensified. Residents saw squads of armed men in fatigues combing the area, as if searching for something or someone. Some locals even reported hearing gunshots echo through the neighborhood in broad daylight. It was against this tense backdrop that, at roughly 3:30 p.m., the sisters Lilian, 16, and Valkyria Silva, 14, and their friend Katia Xavier, 22, came face to face with an red-eyed being on their way home. The young women ran to tell their mother what they had seen, triggering phone calls to neighbors and local authorities. The news spread rapidly through Varginha. An ET had been sighted. Marco Eli Cherize, a 23-year-old military police officer, was patrolling when he allegedly stumbled upon a second creature near the woods. Yet, the day's events were not over. About 2 hours later, at 5:30 p.m., another twist occurred. Acting on impulse, Cherize reportedly lunged and grabbed the being with his bare hands, subduing the small, slippery creature and wrestling it into the back of his patrol car. He then raced to the local hospital, alerting that he had captured something unusual and needed assistance. Some accounts claim that the creature was still alive in custody at this point. However, when curious hospital staff went to look, the being had vanished, spirited away by arriving military teams, according to later witness claims. Officially, hospital administrators denied ever receiving any such being that night. Unofficially, rumblings among nurses and doctors told a different story, that a lifeless, hairless creature was briefly seen on a gurney before armed soldiers removed it and warned staff to stay silent. In the early hours of January 21st, multiple witnesses reported a convoy of army trucks navigating Varginha's roads under cover of darkness. By some accounts, 2 crates were loaded onto an army flatbed, possibly containing the bodies of 2 creatures captured that day. The convoy headed north toward the Escola de Sargentos das Armas, Sergeant's School, an army base in the city of Tres Corazones. Within a few days, on January 23rd, witnesses further claimed that military vehicles left Varginha carrying extraterrestrial remains to the University of Campinas, also known as Unicamp, where scientists would supposedly examine them. All of this, of course, was vehemently denied by authorities whenever reporters asked. Then came the most tragic development. On February 7th, 1996, police officer Marco Chariz, the man who had allegedly captured one of the creatures, fell suddenly ill. He was hospitalized with high fever, pain in his arm, and a strange numbness spreading through his body. Days later, the otherwise healthy 23-year-old was dead, the official cause listed as septicemia, a generalized bacterial infection. To those who knew him, it was a shocking and perplexing loss. Almost immediately, chilling rumors began to swirl. People whispered that Chiraz's fatal illness was no ordinary infection, but the result of exposure to alien bacteria or toxins from the creature he handled. There was no proof, but the timing and circumstances were suspicious. The Varginha incident now had its own martyr in the eyes of the public. A young man who might have paid with his life for capturing something not of this earth. The city then spiraled into UFO mania. Police and military units cordoned off areas. Residents reported strange sights at every turn, and local radio and TV stations began picking up the story. Brazilian newspapers ran bold headlines about the ET de Varginha, and soon the international press latched on, dubbing it Brazil's Roswell. The tale had all the tantalizing elements of a sci-fi thriller: alien creatures on the loose, panicked civilians, and an alleged government cover-up. As one Varginha resident recalled, on that day, it was chaos in the city, full of army personnel. But the case was quickly covered up by the armed forces and government, leaving behind a cloud of uncertainty. Many locals felt something was being hushed up almost immediately, an impression only strengthened by the lack of official information and the swirl of bizarre rumors that followed. And rumors did swirl, growing more fantastical by the hour. In the days after January 20th, multiple residents claimed to have seen UFOs in the area leading up to the incident. Anonymous sources, purportedly military insiders, whispered that not one but several alien beings had been recovered around Varginha. There were even strange coincidences noted. Within a week of the incident, several animals at Varginha's zoo died inexplicably, including a tapir, an ocelot, and 2 deer, fueling speculation that some toxic contamination or unseen force was at play. The media even aired one outlandish claim that a local woman had become mysteriously pregnant after an encounter with the creature, a rumor that was never substantiated but got people talking. In short, Varginha was in a frenzy. Everyone had a theory, but hard evidence was scarce, and official statements were even scarcer. As pressure mounted, government and military authorities finally broke their silence, only to categorically deny that anything paranormal had occurred. Over the ensuing months and years, the Brazilian army and local officials put forth a much more mundane narrative to explain the Varginha incident. Their conclusions, based on an official inquiry completed years later, can be summed up as the 3 young women mistaking a local mentally unstable homeless man with an extraterrestrial. For the hospital incident, what people saw were allegedly nothing more than an expectant dwarf couple. In essence, 2 human beings of short stature were absurdly mistaken for captured aliens in the fevered climate of that week. The authorities insisted that the military trucks and troops spotted around Varginha on January 20th were engaged in normal activities, not recovering UFO debris or alien bodies. Army trucks seen parked near the city center were simply en route for scheduled maintenance at a garage. The presence of firefighters was explained as a standard response to an unrelated emergency, which was never clearly specified. Every movement of vehicles that day, they said, had an ordinary purpose, nothing to do with aliens at all. And the tragic fate of the police officer, Marco Terese? In the official reports, they say it was an unfortunate coincidence, unrelated to any creature encounter. In 2010, after years of silence, the Brazilian army released the results of its official inquiry into the Varginha case. It was a 2-volume report spanning over 600 pages, informing that the military investigators found no credible evidence of extraterrestrials. They concluded that local media had publicized untrue events and effectively frightened the public over nothing. And prominent skeptics backed the official stance. Brian Dunning, an American science writer known for investigating UFO claims, has cited the Varginha story as the most compelling example of a case where literally nothing at all happened that was remotely unusual, and yet it was magnified into proof of alien visitation. To believers who point to Varginha as evidence, Dunning quipped that they should recalibrate the bar for quality of evidence. However, many Brazilians remain unconvinced by the official story. The Varginha incident may have been officially written off as misidentification and myth, but the case is far from closed in the court of public opinion. In fact, over the decades, it has taken on a life of its own, fueled by alleged witness testimonies, whistleblower reports, and the city's embrace of its alien legend. Ufologists who investigated Varginha argue that the authorities engaged in a concerted cover-up, suppressing key evidence and intimidating witnesses to keep the truth under wraps. They ask, if nothing extraordinary happened, why were so many people, including police and military personnel, swearing otherwise? Why do details from disparate witnesses, who hadn't met, align so well? And why were critical records and logs mysteriously lost or kept secret? On the believer's side of the story, several intriguing claims and coincidences bolster the idea of a cover-up. First, for example, researchers like Vittorio Paccaccini, one of the first ufologists on the case, insist that more than one alien being was present. Paccaccini testified that the Brazilian armed forces secretly captured at least 5 creatures around Varginha during that period. While the most commonly reported scenario involves 2 beings, one caught in the morning by firefighters, one in late afternoon by Officer Terese, some sources suggest there may have been even more roaming the area before all were rounded up. This, proponents say, explains why so many trucks and units were deployed, a larger-scale operation than admitted. Secondly, there was also the intimidation of witnesses. We suffered a complete process of intimidation, Paccaccini said of his attempts to investigate Varginha. He and other researchers claim that military agents shadowed and threatened key witnesses. Some witnesses have indeed waited decades before speaking publicly, allegedly out of fear. For example, a local neurologist, Dr. Italo Venturelli, only recently, in 2023, revealed that he was at the hospital that night and was asked to examine a strange creature after it underwent surgery. He recalls peering at an entity, like a child, with a teardrop-shaped skull and lilac eyes, that was completely different from a human, alive and calm on the operating table. He stayed silent for 30 years, fearing professional ridicule and being considered insane, until a near-death experience compelled him to speak up. Such delayed testimonials suggest that some individuals were either explicitly warned or implicitly pressured to keep quiet. The third claim relates to the anonymous military personnel who began leaking information to Brazilian ufologists months after the incident. They often did it through intermediaries or with voices disguised. These whistleblowers alleged that the creature captured by Terese was indeed real, and they detailed its journey. First to Hospital Regional in Varginha, then to the Army Barracks in Tres Corações, and later to a high-security laboratory at the University Unicamp in Campinas. According to these reports, the being, or its body, was examined in secret by a select team of specialists. One soldier's leaked testimony described the creature in haunting detail. It barely had a nose, its eyes were very red, and its mouth was small. Such accounts, though unverified, added fuel to the fire by suggesting some in the know were trying to get the truth out, even as their superiors clamped down. The fourth sign of a cover-up were the other odd hospital occurrences. Hospital staff were reportedly transferred or warned after speaking to UFO investigators. And in a small city like Varginha, people notice unusual events. Leonardo Ciacci, now the mayor, but in 1996 a bakery manager, recently revealed, on the day of the incident, the hospital refused to accept his bakery's routine bread delivery without explanation. To locals, this was unheard of. The only reason a hospital might turn away food supply would be an extreme emergency or lockdown. Ciacci's anecdote, shared decades later, suggests the hospital was on high alert and possibly sealed off at the very time an alien would have been there inside. The fifth sign was the mystery related to the cargo and records. Researchers have doggedly tried to trace the military convoy's cargo that left Varginha. They point out that no official logs of what was transported to Campinas on January 23, 1996, have been released, an unusual gap for military records. Likewise, fire department call logs from that day, which could detail the strange animal capture, were allegedly classified or went missing. Such disappearances strike UFO investigators as deliberate erasures of evidence. In 2025, a group of prominent Brazilian ufologists even went before the Brazilian Congress in a public hearing to accuse the armed forces of withholding thousands of UFO-related documents, including files on Varginha. They highlighted the persistent secrecy and demanded transparency. This official hearing underscored that the cover-up accusations have reached the highest levels of public debate in Brazil. With all these threads, the Varginha case remains a tantalizing enigma. On one hand, we have an exhaustive official investigation that found nothing extraterrestrial. On the other hand, we have a mosaic of witness stories and peculiar coincidences that refuse to fade away. The city of Varginha itself has embraced the mystery. Today, a water tower in the town square is decorated as a giant flying saucer, and alien statues and murals dot the streets. Local shops sell ET-themed souvenirs, and the anniversary of the 1996 incident is marked by conferences and fanfare. It's as if the populace collectively decided that, if the government won't officially recognize what happened, they will keep the story alive in popular culture and civic pride. 30 years later, the Varginha incident straddles the boundary between legend and reality. Skeptics and officials maintain it was much ado about nothing, a case of misidentification, panic, and media sensationalism. No aliens, no cover-up, just human folly. But many eyewitnesses and researchers tell a different story. You can watch some of these in the 2022 Netflix documentary, Moment of Contact. So ask yourself, what do you believe happened in Varginha in 1996? Was the city gripped by nothing more than collective hysteria and imaginative rumors? Or, as many still suspect, did something truly otherworldly skulk through that quiet neighborhood, only to be whisked away in secrecy by human authorities? Did an extraterrestrial really touch down in Brazil that rainy January? And if so, has the truth been lying dormant, hidden in military archives and whispered testimonies? It's a mystery that endures in the hearts of those who were there and fascinates those who discover it anew. In the end, the case of the ET of Varginha forces us to wonder. When confronted with the unknown, do we readily accept comforting explanations, or dare to question what we are told by authorities? Thank you for venturing beyond the veil with us. If you liked the video, consider liking and subscribing. The shadows have more secrets to reveal. Until next time.